Well, it is the cusp of summer, and I'm with Jan McNeilon. So, Jan, you know, we always have things to do, and you always have interesting things. So what do you have for us?
Well, several things here. What we're going to do is talk a little bit about diagnosing plant problems and treating plant problems. And so what I suggest people do is make sure they understand what the problem is, if they have a problem, and that whatever treatment, if any, they might be insecticidal soap. But if they decide to use a, even if it's an organic pesticide, to see what that actually can treat. So some of them that will be a broad spectrum insecticide, and some will be more specific, like BT for larval stages. And so just to make sure that you know what you're treating for.
Right.
And that you're not using a bigger gun than you need to.
Right, and read the label. We always tell you to read the label.
Right.
And then it's all that information. Chemical companies spend lots of money to do all that research.
Right, and here's an example. I have a clematis that succumbed to aphids, more than I have ever seen on anyone I've ever had. And so I actually took it out, and then I looked on another one, and I've been spraying it with insecticidal soap, first of water, then insecticidal soap, and then realized the other day there are ladybug larvae all over it eating the aphids. So be careful. So also know what a ladybug larva looks like, and that it can eat a lot more aphids than the adult beetle can. So there's lots of good predators out there for you. So really observe the plant and see what is there.
Yeah, such a great idea, because you want the natural world to take care of the problem.
Absolutely, and there's a lot of predators that'll help you do that.
Neat.
But you have to be able to identify what they look like.
Yeah, and there's lots of apps, or just go to your independent garden center to try to find out what's going on.
Okay, and then the other thing is that I have a new problem that I never had before. And I know people are going to laugh because they've had rabbit problems before, but we have never had them in this neighborhood in the 60 some odd years I've lived here, and now they're everywhere. So I'm putting floating row covers over my lettuce and being a little more careful so that I don't think I can talk them out of eating some of the stuff that's there, and they're really reproducing. But we also have coyotes, so I think there's a natural predator there too, so I'm not so sure how we're going to do that. One thing, I ran out of big pots this year.
Oh, look at this.
So I actually decided I would get some of the cloth bags and try those out. So I have a bush Goliath tomato planted in the back garden in one of them. And then I planted a dahlia in the other, just to see what it'll do. So it's just an experiment this year to see how that works.
Yeah, so I mean, it's something to do and try. It's always fun to experiment.
Right, and then you can dump the soil and save it to mix with other potting soil next year, and then they fold up and store. So it's pretty good.
Definitely.
Yeah, one thing I will say, you need to water them every day, because they, unlike other pots, they don't hold the moisture, they actually leak the moisture.
Oh yeah, so you're really losing a lot more moisture everywhere.
Exactly. And then one more thing is there's the famous June drop.
Right, it's June.
For apples. And if you find that they're dropping from your apple tree, it's because they're not pollinated. And this is just a little one, but here you see, well, there's more. It takes 3 seeds to carry that fruit through. If not, it'll drop.
Because it's not
pollinated.
Reproductive.
Yeah,
So,
not pollinated. So that's the famous June drop.
Well, and there's a reason behind it. It's not just because they're dropping. It's because they're not viable to carry on the genetic material.
Right, absolutely. And also, if you're apt to thin your apples, which a lot of people do, they just want maybe 2 per spur, then this is sort of a natural thinning process.
Right. And so the tree's telling us all what to do. Plants and insects are just so interesting, and they're so smart and so intelligent. We kind of forget that. So really go out and look at your plants, and maybe you don't have to spray, or maybe you don't have to thin your apple trees. So thanks so much, Jan. It's always so interesting.
See you next month.